All right, we're going to go back into Wheel of Time. We're going into episode 5 today. We're exactly at the halfway point. This episode is called Blood Calls Blood. We got a new director today. This is Sally Richardson Whitfield. She's an actress, actually. She's been around for 30-some years. As an actress, she was the lovely Will Smith's wife in I Am Legend. She was in Black Dynamite. But she's also been a director. She directed Altered Carbon, Doom Patrol, and she directed some episodes of Blackish, which I'll just do a sidebar that Charlotte just finished binge watching Blackish, and so we watched it with her too. And that show was great. I had real low expectations for it. I have low expectations for any sitcom of that sort, but I was blown away by how good that show was and how well it handled sensitive current subjects. Have you seen Blackish?
Not yet.
It's great. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
I'll check it out.
Maybe we'll do a podcast. We'll do a whitish take on Blackish. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
No, that would be terrible. We're not doing that. I don't agree to this.
Okay. We're going to start this episode out. This is solemn, James. Listeners, we're going to be solemn because we're starting out with a funeral. We've got Stepan. He's carrying the body of his Aes Sedai, Corine. There's multiple bodies being buried. We're not just burying the Aes Sedai and the quote-unquote good guys. We're burying everybody. The dragon's followers and the dragon's non-followers. Everybody's getting buried side by side here. And of course, it's like a nice wheel pattern that they dug there. Those were probably Aes Sedai dug graves. I doubt very seriously that the 4 warders dug all those holes, cause it looked like their clothes were still in pretty good condition. I'm pretty sure Aes Sedai can do such things. They can do anything they want. This is a very unusual situation here too, with Stepan and his lovely blonde hair and his sadness. Warders are not supposed to outlive their Aes Sedai. Aes Sedai, I don't know if they make good mention of it. They did mention it, but it might have went over everybody's heads that they're hundreds of years old. They can be hundreds of years old. Not immortal, but the next best thing to being immortal. And warders are not. Warders are just regular guys that, have a bond with them. Yes, James.
I think being a stillborn is the next best thing to being immortal. Because I don't want to live forever.
We should try to get a stillborn on the podcast and interview them from that perspective and see.
Man, I was so close to being a stillborn. I was. The umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck.
Yeah, I heard about that. Do you want to go into that? Because it was an interesting story. Like you and another guy had the exact same experience.
Yeah, David Sapp from Tomorrow's Nobodies, David Forgets, the Jank crew. He started telling that story. I was like, holy shit, same exact deal. I was born blue. My mom always says, my blue little baby, you're like a Smurf. And I was like, I wish I was dead.
I'm glad you lived because we wouldn't be doing this right now if not the case.
Yeah, but you would have found someone else on the grift horse. But maybe if I didn't exist, what if grift? No, I'm so far removed from that it would have been fine.
It would have been fine, but I'm putting my mind in that mind space right now. I would not be on Spotify. There would be no Introvoid. I would have no podcast. I would just be an average consumer. I would still be writing music on that 4-track for nobody. They would just be cassette tapes piling up over there in the corner. So, I personally have you to thank for that.
You're welcome, as it should be said.
Thank you, me Irish mum.
I will say the Hiss Horse days of Grift Horse, that would have sounded different if I hadn't come along and cleaned those episodes up.
Oh, wait, did you do that?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I had no idea.
Yeah, that was me. The reason why those got sounding okay was because I took it upon myself so I could listen to the episodes because I have sensitive ears on that high end stuff. So
Same.
I cut those out.
I'm so glad that happened because, we were talking about it on the Discord. I guess it went over my head that you were involved in that. I sometimes listen back to old episodes of Grift Horse, and they'll read letters that I wrote that I have no memory of writing and no memory of the thing that I wrote about. I'm like, wow, I'm pretty cool. Was I lying or was I telling the truth?
Can I say some notes that I have for up till now?
Almost.
Okay.
You sit quiet, you sweet child. You keep being sweet or we're going to have to give you a spanking. We got some severe grief here because this is just an unusual situation all along. It's different from like a parent outliving their child. It's like that times 100. What I wanted to say before I let you go on is when they're doing their prayer and they cut to Leandrin and she kind of closes her eyes and just does a little something with her face. I mean, what a wonderful actress. She's the best actress on the show, in my opinion. The one who plays Leandrin. It was hard to tell if she was going along with the prayer, like, cause she's tight with Corinne, or if she was like, what bullshit. I can't believe I'm sitting here and listening to this bullshit. You could take it as either way. How did you take Leandrin's, cut to?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, the blonde-haired red Aes Sedai.
I didn't notice anything that she was doing, so I'm going to say it went over my head.
Okay, well, cool. What were your notes for this funeral?
There was a woman in green, and there was singing on the soundtrack, but when she was crying, it looked like she was singing, so I thought that was funny. And then I said, Aes Sedai, more like Isa cry, and Misa Jar Jar Binks.
Misa stepping bad doo-doo. It's a funeral over here.
And then I said the Wheel of Shallow Graves.
Yeah. They were in danger of being dug up any second by any passing wolf.
Well, at first I thought because they started putting candles on there, I was like, when the candles like burn down, it will light the bodies aflame and then they will go back into the earth because they are still like, it's not going to become a wildfire because they are in some sort of dirt trench. But no, the candles had like a candle holder within them, so it wouldn't have burned them. This was just poorly dug graves.
Yeah, they could have gone a little bit deeper with those suckers. They were arranged perfectly, though. I loved the arrangement of them. And
digging, cemeteries are, you need practicality, not, aesthetics.
I mean, I agree, but they're out here in the wild, and that's not really quite an issue in their world at this time. There's no urban sprawl happening in the world of Wheel of Time. It's quite the opposite.
Still, an animal's going to get them and start eating their bodies, and that's just disrespectful to the dead.
Yeah, but now that we see this prayer, though, their souls are going to go up and they're going to be reincarnated because that's a thing in this world. So, we can wait for them next time around.
The wheel keeps dragging.
Yep. So the wheel drags 1 month later. So it gives us a little cut to. They've been traveling for a month. They're finally at the White Tower. Pretty psyched to be here. We learned that Nynaeve eats every night with the warders. Kind of get like a little sly look from land there, like maybe they've been hanging out a little bit. Steppen is here to deliver the ring. The fella is not doing too good. Do you have any notes for the Aes Sedai arrival upon the city before they actually enter the city?
Yeah. Meringue says, we're going back to your home. Do you still consider it your home? And she responds with, this cloak is my home. This saddle is my home. This this brooding man besides me is my home. And then he like looks at her, and Nicole just is walking through, and she goes, man, that dude flirts with everyone.
Yep, he is smoldering. Nicole walks by and says the funniest shit. She should be walking by like every 5 seconds and giving us commentary, I swear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're going to cut a little later on to, they're actually in the tower. From the Aes Sedai perspective, we're going to skip over Matt and Rand's perspective. We're going to go straight to the Aes Sedai perspective. Nynaeve is in the tower. She's being promised that they're going to find her friends and get reunited. We hope that that's the truth because Moiraine is saying these words, that she promises her that she'll bring her friends to them. She also says to avoid the women in the tower and to be careful. That's a warning that everybody gives, even though these women are revered as, wonderful, great healers. Even if you remember a couple episodes back, even the White Cloak was like, that wounded looking pretty nasty. You need to go hook up with Aes Sedai to get that healed. Even he was recommending Aes Sedai. These tower politics will eat you alive. What did Moiraine mean when she said those words? These tower politics will eat you alive. Is that a literal case there, James? Did you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, it just seemed like corporate America.
Well, sure, but I'm trying to take her word. Like, she can't tell any lies. So I'm wondering, like, how hyperbole fits in with that type of thing.
I mean, she can still speak in figurative speech, right?
I mean, would it be okay to be like, like I all the time will tell obvious lies on this show that is an obvious lie, but I'm telling it in a sarcastic, joking way. Could I get away with that perhaps if I was an Aes Sedai?
Well, I think sarcasm is different than metaphor and simile. Right? I
mean, I don't know. I just thought that those words coming out of her mouth, it took me aback. And I don't know if it took anybody else aback or if I'm just a literal person, which I am a literal person.
Okay, then maybe she means it will consume you into looking for power as these other individuals do if you get in with their way of thinking and controlling their own, what's the power in this called? The power? The one true power?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So I think she's like, stay away from them or you will become what you hate.
Nynaeve says they better stay away from me because I'm the one they got to watch out for. I like her.
She's getting cocky right there, guys.
Yeah, she's speaking out of fear too, and Moiraine knows it. Moiraine's straight up with her. Nynaeve's like, is anything ever going to be the same? Moraine's like, nope, it's not. You just got to accept it and move on. You can't keep saying nothing's the same, because it's not. You accept it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to skip ahead a little further on where we are with the Aes Sedai. Oh, yes, here we are. We're preparing, stepping for the funeral. In this world, yes, sir?
Oh, there's something that they say that relates to what Matt and Rand are doing where I was like, oh, I called it. So they're seeing the false dragon being trounced through town and the village people, or I guess the city folk, are throwing like food at them. And I wrote down, wow, man, they have to have good aim or they're just going to pelt one of the Aes Sedai. And then like the following scene where we are at now starts with like, oh yeah, they wanted to, how was the parade? And they were like, it's fine, but you want to know what? It was all worth it to see Leandrin get pelted by a radish. I was like, yeah!
And they actually showed that on scene too. Like if you go back and rewatch it, which I did, they do show her getting, not pelted, but yeah, she gets hit with a radish. They're prepping them up for the funeral wearing all white. That's what they wear in this world when they do prayers and when they do burials. In this case, he's burying her ring. As we've seen plenty times before, these rings are super important. They hold a huge importance to the tower. This eternal flame that he's putting the ring into has been at the tower for as long as the tower has been there. And that's how they dispose of the Aes Sedai. Not dispose of, but what would you call that word when you honorifically, help me out here, James, with my vocabulary.
When you...
They're not disposing of it, they're...
I guess cremating it is what I would say.
Yeah, there you go.
Bringing it back into the earth, into the cycle of making new rings.
I think they should recycle the rings and maybe hand it down to another Aes Sedai, perhaps, or one of their apprentices.
I think this is the whole concept of the Wheel of Time is things die but then get reincarnated in order to reincarnate a ring, because you don't want that like badness established to if someone were to die or to like, you don't want to give a hand-me-down ring. Like if you were to like be divorced, you've said on here you were divorced once, correct?
Yeah.
Did you take that ring and then give it to your new wife?
I did not, but that's a difference. Like you would take like your grandmother's heirloom and you would hand that down to a granddaughter, and she would be honored to have that.
But with the whole Wheel of Time concept, they melted the ring, and I'm guessing from that forge, they forge new rings. So like it's a constant recycling of this gold.
You got it.
Within this forge. You
got it. See, that goes over my head. You got it, man. Thank you. Before that, we learn about how Corrine and Stepan met. Maxim's talking about how this is his family. I thought this was just straight up the perfect scene. When, Stepan approaches the fire, teardrop coming from his eye. It was just a perfect scene all around. They used it for the trailer of the show. Like, this is how they introduced the show, I believe, was with this scene. This is like the first thing that any Wheel of Time reader saw, was like this scene of Stepan kissing the ring and putting it in the fire. And yeah, it was a moment.
When Franklin passed away, a cat best friend of mine, I couldn't throw away a box he slept in without, like, I would start thinking about it, then just break down. I don't know how he could do the ring thing so close. Like, it was a day since this happened. I don't buy that.
It's been a month.
Or he's just much stronger than I am.
It's been a month. Remember? A month has passed between the funeral and the time they've come to the White Tower.
I totally missed that.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, after that happens, Lan and Moraine share a moment. Again, completely silent scene. They don't say a word to each other, but it's clear that they share a bond, that their brain and their emotions are as one. So these warders, again, they're not immortal. They don't necessarily get any special powers from being a warder. They just get the honor of protecting an Aes Sedai, but also having that brain bond with them. And that's worth something right there. And if I do be mistaken, that's the last we're going to talk about the Aes Sedai here. We're going to move on to our buddies Matt and Rand, if we may. So again, this is 1 month later. So Matt and Rand have been traveling as well. They've been traveling with this group of people that are probably all going to the same place, to Tar Valon. Tar Valon is like the New York City of this world, basically. Matt, who has a strong affinity for kids and for his sisters back home, is not having any shit with these kids. He's snapping at him. He's being a real jerk, and he's looking worse and worse as time goes on. Rand's pretty worried about him too. You can tell. Rand claims that he's seen this mountain before, which we know is bogus because he's been tending sheep all his life. None of these people have ever left Two Rivers. They enter Tar Valon, this huge, immaculate city, beautiful clothes. Rand immediately gets something to eat. Matt's not hungry. Matt just wants to lay down and go to sleep. I was telling you earlier, sometimes, a depressive person can go through times where nothing matters to them. They can be surrounded by the most beautiful city, interesting food, things you've never seen before, and you just could not care less. All you want to do is just lay down and just be left alone. That's where Matt's at right now. You have any notes so far?
So on Gelmania, Brett Gelman, and I think he also did it on Meltdown. the Nerd Melt, whatever it was called on Comedy Central. He had a bit where he's just like, I'm not doing well. And then just like progressively gets like more ridiculous of not doing well. And all I could think of, I'm not doing well. I puked up a bat. I'm not doing well. Magic plagued with darkness oozed from my tear ducts. I'm not doing well. Yeah, man, he's been through some stuff.
Absolutely. He just wants to be left alone at this point. So, yeah, Rand leaves him alone.
I may have murdered a family. I'm not doing well.
That's right. I don't have that written down, but that is a huge point to go into that I was thinking about, but just for some reason it did not make it to pen to paper. We didn't see that Fade kill that family. We didn't see Matt kill that family. What we saw was Matt standing there and a dead family around him, and then he points his blade to a Fade, and that's when our scene begins. We're pretty sure that Matt did not do this because his blade is clean. I went back and watched, and that's a detail that we have to, take into consideration. His blade was clean. Even so, this is a pretty kooky world where all kinds of stuff can happen. So we're not quite sure if Matt he's not sure if he killed the family or not. And just the fact that he's questioning it and Rand has to reassure him. Rand wasn't in that room. We weren't in that room either. So all Rand is doing is just blanket reassurance.
Yeah, because maybe he's just snapped all their necks.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm trying to think about this season, not season 1, episode 1 Matt, and like how much I loved him, like in that first episode, and how great of a character he was. And then trying to picture him, snapping little kids' necks. It doesn't do well for my brain.
Someone that is in Sean Marciniak's Twitch streams, R2Shelby2, shout out to them. They were interested in this Wheel of Time podcast, and I believe she said, like, oh, I watched a few episodes, and all I know from this in the books is Matt is my favorite character.
Yeah. I think every poll that I've seen of Wheel of Time, he pretty much comes out on top of every one.
No, thank you. I'm
you?
right now a Egwene.
Yeah, you're a TV show watcher, which totally makes sense. Based on what we've seen, I can't fault you for that.
Oh, also, number 1 truly is the Dark One.
You haven't even met the Dark One yet. He's just an idea at this point. You think an idea of a Dark One is better than Kooky Matt?
Well, I'll say the idea of the Dark One's better than the opposite of darkness, and we'll get into that later.
All right. Rand is like Rand doesn't want to lay in the room and sit in a bed. He wants to go see this crazy city he's in. He gets more than he bargained for. He goes to the library because that's the kind of dude Rand is. Meets an Ogier in there named Loyal, larger than life fellow. This guy is played by, you're going to love this guy's name, Hamad. I think his last name is Animation. Animashaun. Animation. He's a stage actor, obviously. So he's done like a lot of Shakespeare. And I believe this is like his first televised role.
Hell yeah.
As Loyal. Not Ogre, but Ogier. We learn a little bit about Ogier here, that they normally stay in a steading. This fella here, Loyal, is just out for adventure, out to meet people. He loves oddities like this fella Rand, who looks like an Aielman. But Rand's like, I'm just a dude. I'm not an Aielman. An Aielman who looks like an Aielman who denies he's an Aielman. Yeah, we can go in circles with that. Any thoughts about Loyal or Rand at this point?
I did have, after, he says all of that, he says, that's odd. I like oddities. I really enjoyed this dude.
Yeah, he's another book favorite as well. This Loyal. What was I going to say about him before I went on? Oh yeah, they were talking about, you go ahead.
No, you're probably going to cover it.
Okay, well, I was going to say he picked up the book of Jane Farstrider, who is another one of our legends. This is not the first time we've heard the name Jane Farstrider. It was kind of a clumsy way to introduce the book in this scene, but I'm glad they introduced it anyway because it comes up a lot in the book. The Book of Wheel of Time, everybody loves the book of Jane Farstrider. What were you going to say?
So he sees Matt down there, Rand does, in the streets walking, and he's like, I gotta go. And Loyal says, man, you humans are always in a rush to do things without being prepared for what you're getting yourself into. But you already established, like, they grow faster and live far less than you do. We have to be in a rush because we're always almost dead.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And did you watch Star Trek at all? Either Star Trek Next Generation or Deep Space Nine?
I probably have consumed a lot of it, but only because my dad watched a lot of it.
Okay. I watched a lot of it, doing like night stock at grocery stores. And that's what we would watch during our lunch break, which our lunch break was, 3 a.m. But I don't know. It was something very Star Trek-y about the way he was kind of talking and chuckling to himself after Rand walked off that I couldn't help think about maybe Worf or something. Maybe that's who he reminded me of. But there's a parade coming through town. We're going to kind of cross stories here because this is when the Aes Sedai are coming in and Loyal and Matt and Rand are watching them come through town. It's what they call the False Dragon Parade. That boot on the horse is a signal to people that an Aes Sedai has fallen in battle. So this town is like this city of Tar-Valon is also where the White Tower is, which is where the Aes Sedai Center is. So everybody is very Aes Sedai friendly, Aes Sedai familiar. In these other towns outside, like Two Rivers, Aes Sedai are these legends that nobody really knows about. Around here, everybody knows about them, and they see a boot on a horse, and they know what that means automatically. People are throwing shit at the false dragon, as we said. Leandrin got a piece of that. We see Logain peek up at Matt, start cackling wildly. Matt looks unnerved as hell, but Rand seems to miss the whole thing. So I'm not sure if this happened in Matt's head, if this really happened or not, but definitely Matt and Logain had a moment there. Another person that Matt saw out the window that Matt spied that we didn't talk to, but if you look at the closed captionings, he saw Padan Fain, the peddler down there in the crowd too. Did you catch him?
No.
Yeah, he was down in the crowd, walking around a little bit. They zoomed in on him at one point, so it was no secret. I'm not pointing out anything I shouldn't be pointing out. Yeah, the peddler was there too. So he's come a long way. I mean, he came from the Two Rivers the same time they did, like with the Trollocs. Now he's here in town.
Which might smell disastrous.
Right now, it just smells like a lovely city.
I meant to say spell disastrous.
Okay, so here we got, before we leave this scene, we got Matt pleading with Rand for his sanity, basically. Telling Rand, don't let me end up like some weirdo like that. Please, Rand, please, promise me. Rand's like, okay, I promise you. What about me? Matt's like, whatever, sure. Did you believe that Matt would watch out for Rand the same way that Rand would watch out for Matt?
Yeah, because I think he's down to stab someone.
Yeah, I guess he would be. I don't know. I totally got the vibe that that Rand likes Matt more than Matt likes Rand. I'm trying to see if that's the last time we see our fellas here. For this episode, anyway.
I think that is. Did you mention that the false dragon was laughing at Matt?
Yeah, yes. And we don't know if that actually happened or if it happened in Matt's head. What's your take on that?
I think it actually happened. Because even if it happened in his head, it still really happened. I think there was a connection with the two.
Absolutely, there was a connection, but I don't think that I don't think anybody else saw that except for the two of them, because when Rand, looks at Matt, looks back at Logain's just still has that blank, sad look on his face. And I think all that cackling would probably have like prompted the Aes Sedai or somebody in the crowd to be like, "Hey, shut up. What are you laughing at?" So I think that was a moment that happened in his head.
Yeah, they start pelting things at him.
They were doing that well before this scene.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get to the saddest, just most infuriating scene in this episode so far.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Okay, we're going to be talking about the White Cloaks and the Tuatha, the Tinkers. Do you prefer to call them the Tuatha or the Tinkers? What do you prefer?
The Tuatha, because that's what they call themselves.
Correct. All right. So they're traveling with Perrin, and I'm going to start that over again, of course. We come in with Perrin and Aram philosophizing about this and that. We catch the gist that these guys are, if not vegan, they're at least vegetarian, because Perrin's complaining about eating turnips and the dogs get to eat meat. So yeah, the vegetarian types. As they're walking through, Egwene comes up kind of playfully and happily, grabbing onto the guys. She's psyched. She can sense Rand's presence in the tower. She knows he's there. So, everybody's pretty excited. And then the friggin' Proud Boys show up. The White Cloaks come. They want to just question the Tuatha, but he catches eye of Perrin and Egwene, and he remembers them. The Tuatha claim Perrin and Egwene as their own. They stand up in their own way to the White Cloaks. They're not going to fight them, but they're not going to let them get past. They form a wall. Friggin' dickhead Valda punches my favorite woman, Isla. How dare he, motherfucker, gives her a bloody nose, and then they pretty much go to town on these guys. Aram lets us know offhandedly that the White Cloaks would never kill a Tuatha, but they'll beat the shit out of them.
His words was, they are bastards, but they will not kill us. Yeah.
Which I agree with half of that anyway. I don't know about this Valda guy. It doesn't seem like he would stop at anything. They pick up on Perrin and Egwene pretty quickly. It seems like Aram is leading them to safety around some pretty cool, like, rock carvings. There's all kinds of, like, hints of the past world that we just catch glance of. Like, we see seconds of, something that we know was significant 300 years ago, and now it's just part of the forest scenery. So Aram attempts to save them. He does not. They catch one of them, take them back to the camp.
Which, I will say, they should have just, like, went up to the leaders, because they see that they're about to start punching their friends, and then they're like, oh, we need to leave or we'll get punched. No, like, say, hey, you want to know what? You can take us without force. That's fine.
Yeah, they were kind of following Aram's lead here, and Aram was leading them away. So I guess you could kind of blame him a little bit for that.
Yeah, I guess.
He is definitely a Tuatha. He was born into their culture, but you can tell he's kind of got his feet in both worlds a little bit here. Valda puts on his sleeveless shirt for whatever reason, just to look cool. And
he does look cool and hot.
He does. But he doesn't look cool. He's always like eating piles of food. I guess just to let us know that he's just a bastard. He's got Egwene and Perrin tied up. Well, he doesn't have Perrin tied up yet. He's got Egwene. You can see there's blood on the ropes. So this is like the Aes Sedai, like torture chair that she's sitting in. He's blaming her for being an Aes Sedai. Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, she gets basically assaulted by these guys, scrubbed down head to toe, and they comb out her braid, which she's super proud of her braid. They viciously assault her, in my opinion. In an attempt... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there's no, like... Visually, she is being assaulted, and that's how she is seeing that. There isn't, just for, you know, like, trigger warning, content warning stuff, there's nothing really happens. Like, she seems relieved when they, like, put on her clothes and they're like, hey, now you're decent, thank you. But the fact that they are using hard bristled brushes it's just violent. And then on top of that, when he's eating, he is using a knife as a fork, like a sharp ass knife. This man is disgusting and violent.
Correct. We didn't see the opening scene when Egwene was being bathed by the women's circle to do her river stint in the first episode, but I think that would have been a really good, like, side-by-side comparison of how, you know, the women's circle treat their women and how the White Cloak treat their women.
Well, also, we see that they have, like, they're, you know, like the harder loofahs, but they still had that. It would have been much better than, oh, man, just... it makes my skin crawl just thinking someone is scrubbing me with any bristle.
That was a tough scene to watch, and they captured it really well with the cinematography. You and I are both like I think sensitive people, and it definitely worked. It's not a scene I want to go back and rewatch. So they got her. He has her tied up, child Valda. He's a sweet child too, isn't he? Brings in Perrin. He's tied up. Even though Egwene is completely in a powerless position, she still has power to her, and she stands up as much as she can to Valda in this situation. She defers to him somewhat. She stands up to him a lot. Valda's got them in a no-win situation, basically. Starts doing the torture-y thing to Perrin, and this... I gotta tell you, like, the way he treated Egwene and Perrin in this scene, the way all of them treated Egwene and Perrin, is basically nothing. The White Cloaks probably view them as coddling this couple, because what they normally do is burn people alive, whip them, sever their organs while they're still alive. They're anything to get an answer to their questions. So this is horrific what they're doing, but it's very small potatoes compared to what could be happening, I guess, if they were indeed Aes Sedai. We're going to end our episode and end the scene with this scene, unfortunately, because we're right at the halfway point. What Valda does here is he stabs Perrin in the back. Doesn't stab him in the back, I'm sorry. He slices some pattern on his back with an alcohol-soaked knife. And we, the viewers, can see Perrin's eyes change into this golden kind of elucid color. Nobody else sees that except for us. Valda, after doing this, does the typical James Bond villain thing. We're like, I'm going to leave you guys in the room here alone and with no guards so y'all can talk about how y'all want to get out of this situation. I thought that was a little, it was not a great way to end the scene. Do you have any way to jump in here to save face, James?
Yeah, I got some one. This dude's like, oh, it's for the light, this and that, which reconfirms and reaffirms, I should say, my love of the Dark One. The Dark One's not doing this kind of stuff to our main characters. He's just looking for them.
He sent Trollocs after them to kill them.
No, to scoop them up and say like, hey, I might drag you by the hair, but that's because I don't know the love and tender care that I should be giving to someone that needs to go to the Dark One. But another thing is, I don't know if this is the symbolism they're trying to convey. In demonology, when you get a you'll see a claw mark on you all of a sudden, and it's a claw mark just of 3 claws. Mm-hmm. That was the pattern that he put on Perrin's back. Yeah. So it either is us letting the audience know that this man is bad, like he is a demon in this world, or it could be a symbolism of dragons have 3 claw marks. Maybe that's what they're giving us. Or if he is some type of werewolf, I don't know what we've been seeing with him hanging out with these wolves. It could be something of that sorts. I don't know.
Wait, are you saying that Valda's the werewolf or that Perrin is the werewolf?
Perrin is.
Okay, right. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff to back that up. All the times that we would see Perrin sitting around the fire, you would always hear wolves in the background. And he had that moment where the wolves licked his wound and the wolves were chasing them and leading them to the Tuatha. I think that all adds up to a pretty surmisable point.
We're going to see something cool. I know it in the coming episodes. I hope it's resolved of what is he?
Yeah, same. I didn't see those more. I've watched this episode a few times, but like I said, I'm very sensitive, I suppose. So I did not see these 3 marks you were talking about.
He slices them in just 3 lines on the back.
Right. Okay. Yes, that's correct. I seem to remember him doing 1 vertical and 2 horizontal, but I could be completely wrong about that. I have a tendency to mumble things up in my brain.
I didn't have my blue blockers on, so I saw it as clear as day.
Well, that is where we're going to stop this episode because we are about 33 minutes into episode 5 of Blood After Blood. So we're going to pick up next time right here at 33 minutes in. And we're stepping in halfway through. We just finished watching Perrin and Egwene get left alone in the tent by Valda to talk over they're gonna agree who's gonna die with a handshake, apparently.
Can I say something about that scene because I rewatched a little bit of it to lead in?
It comes back up. Yeah.
When she says, "I'm just a girl from a mountain village," Nicole and I both went, "I'm just a girl from a mountain village." Shout out to No Doubt.
No Doubt, shout out. So yeah, we're going to start with the scene with Nynaeve getting a knock on the door from Steppen. He's wanting a little bit more of that stuff that she gave him earlier. It sounds like he's getting some weed.
I have one more comment. It's very quick. At the end of that scene when they pull out his gag on Perrin, it's like wipe his mouth off because there was this huge, disgusting glob of spit on him. And I'm like, ugh.
I think that was intentional to make the scene look grosser than it had to. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't like it at all.
All right. So, yeah, Steppen's asking for some more of that stuff that helps him sleep. This is a good scene to rewatch because you figure out that he's not actually getting that stuff for himself to get some sleep. But that's the lie he's telling Nynaeve here anyway. Nynaeve also reassures him that don't worry, the pain will never go away.
So she's like, oh yeah, it's goat's tongue. It's an herb, not real goat's tongue, which goat's tongue is bottom leaf, and bottom leaf is that sticky, icky, dank shit, and people love getting high to it.
It's totally indica.
Yeah, the Hobbit is just full of stoners, guys. That's why they're so carefree.
Yeah, blowing those giant smoke rings around, those dope rings. Hell yeah.
That's why they have so many meals.
Yep. Well, she gives him a nice big dose of some super indica, some super fat stuff that can totally knock you on your ass, as we'll find out later. She goes in the hallway, runs into Leandrin of the Reds. Okay. Love the actress, hate the character, right?
Yeah, but also you were told, ma'am, to not talk to any of these people here.
Especially her.
Yes, and then you are like, oh, yeah. She seems like reserved and like, I don't think I'm going to be friendly here and not really go with you and give you more than what I should be giving. But it's like, oh, see her, I have diarrhea. I'm going to get out of here. But then she would probably be like, well, I'm an Aes Sedai. I can cure the diarrhea and make that solid poop in you. Do you think they could do that?
Absolutely, yeah.
I need to live in this world, guys.
I know. You need to live in Tar Valon and have like easy access to an Aes Sedai. If you live like in a mountain village, then you'd have Nynaeve, the wisdom, and she, quote unquote, couldn't channel, but you know, she did know every herb for any ailment, and she describes in this episode how she could heal anybody of pretty much anything. She's got your back.
This is the deciding factor. Is the Dark One able to heal?
Oh, the Dark One, absolutely. The Dark One is powerful. He's a powerful channeler. I mean, so yes.
All right, then I'm still on the Dark One side. He can make me have solid poops. So, all right. I don't need to go over to the Aes Sedai.
I'm glad you brought that up. We're going to go. Okay, actually, I'm going to pause that because we're going to go into Steppen later. Actually, no, we'll go ahead and talk about it now. When Steppen and Land are chit-chatting later on in the episode, and he's got those action figures up, and he's talking about how they're like, you know, he's trying to keep away the Forsaken is what he says. And he has all these little action figures up there. And he explains that like each of the Forsaken was granted whatever they wanted in exchange for being the Dark One's minions, in exchange for immortality. So it sounds like if you were to be one of those Forsaken, it sounds like that's probably what you're aiming for, is to be one of the 13 Forsaken. Because that's, you know, that those are like his or hers like left-hand group, except he's got 13 instead of just one. So
when I worked at a corporation, I was a supervisor. So it went like level 2, level 3 agents, then supervisors, assistant managers, then manager.
Right.
I sat right next to my manager as a supervisor, and she would be like, man, it would be great to just, if I was able to have an assistant and just hire you. And I was like, please do that. I want to be a personal assistant. So I don't think I would want to be a Forsaken. I would just love to be the personal assistant to the Dark One.
That's what the Forsaken are, basically. They're 13 assistants. They all have their own way that they're trying to aid the Dark One.
But this seems more like, hey, go out and do your shit.
Right.
I am the person who helps schedule their day, get them lunch, field questions so they're not bogged down with not actually urgent bullshit.
I think, oh, man, that would have changed the entire outcome of the whole series, I think, if we had shoehorned you in there as the, well, I mean, it's not too late. I mean, the wheel is still turning, so maybe the next turning of the wheel, the Dark One will have, you know, that by his side.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest, when I was in that department, things ran smoothly, and if I would have just been a dedicated personal assistant, we would have smashed things out of the park. So if any company were to hire me, like a podcast company, anything, a studio, I'm going to make sure we are the best podcast company or best studio I can make you. So if I were the Dark One's assistant, there would be no failing. We are doing shit and getting things done.
I mean, I'm a pretty organized person myself. I think I could still work with you because it kind of feels like that. Like I'm working on the side of the light, you're working on the side of the dark, and we're both working together here. I mean, everybody needs an ambassador, and sometimes, you know, we have an ambassador to countries that we're enemies with. So I don't know. I think you and I could be good ambassadors, you know, for the light and the dark to maybe, you know, get some shit done.
Well, you just made a proclamation on Instagram that, hey, we're done with these ads. If
Yeah.
I were the Dark One's assistant, you better believe, like, military style Air Force, the Army Reserve propaganda, even though it's not propaganda for us, of, hey, join the army of the Dark One, become what's that one lady who was the bartender? What kind of thing was she?
Dana, you mean? She was a dark friend.
A dark friend. Yeah, hey guys, be a dark friend.
No, I'm not even doing ads that benefit me. So I'm definitely not going to do any ads that benefit the Dark One.
What are those people with no eyes, only teeth?
The eyeless, the fades.
Okay, hey, you want to know what? You're a dark friend. You can work your way up in this company and eventually become a fade. Wouldn't that be great? Join now.
And then you cut to like a shot of him going,
yeah. Here's some personal, what do you call personal stories, personal anecdotes from real fades who joined at the introductory level. And then, yeah, it is just like...
Man. All right. We're going to continue on. I love this. We're going to switch over to Matt and Rand because we're going to get ready to conjoin our stories here.
Can I say a couple quick things about them? Yeah. All I have left of her is the pain is something that guy says about the Aes Sedai dying. And I was like, that's some Commander Venus type lyrics.
Commander Venus. Yes.
It's one of Connor Oberst's first band. They like pioneered the emo sound.
Word. Okay. Yeah, went over my head. I'm sorry, James. I have nothing to declare at this point.
Have we gotten to that disease? Oh no, we're about to get to that. Okay, never mind. Now we're good.
Yeah, we ain't got nowhere, but we have gotten to Matt and Rand hanging out. Loyal bangs on the door, talking his slow, funny talk. I love the way he talks. His over top of what's happening in the room. He found the friend, Nynaeve. Note, it was not Moraine that brought their friends to Nynaeve. It was Loyal that brought Nynaeve to the friends. We see some joy in Matt's eyes, and he declares, "You're alive," and he looks happy about that. I was happy about that.
He does not look healthy, though. He looks like early Romero zombies, where it's like, well, we don't have a budget, just like splash like powder on their face. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, believable as well. I mean, it's not like too overdone. I mean, it looks right on. He won't let her look at his tongue. Obviously, there's, we know he's got issues. We don't got to go into that. He turns very angry at Nynaeve. Nynaeve and Rand confer as a couple Two Rivers folk doing their reasonable thing. Rand's been taking good care of Matt after all. Everybody wants to avoid Aes Sedai at this point, including Nynaeve. That's like the general vibe of everybody is like, let's just get out of here and handle this ourselves, the Two River way. Nynaeve then tells a story. Okay, before I go into this, fresh in your mind from 2 episodes back, James, do you remember Nynaeve healing Lan, healing everybody in the room, the power of the sun, she's shining. She tells a story about Egwene as a young girl dying and getting ready to die. And she says that she grabbed Egwene's hands and prayed. And then what do you know? Egwene was fine. That's something that also happened in the books. And it also completely went over my head in the books. I didn't even make the connection until I actually watched the show. And that's when I made the connection. Like, holy shit, she was the one that cured Egwene of breakbone fever. It was her. And I didn't... he wrote it in such a way that it wasn't as obviously put together as it is like in a TV show where you can draw clues from everything.
Also, that the fact that within 30 minutes you're getting this story from when, or I guess more like within 40 minutes, if you were to binge watch all of these episodes, you're getting her doing that like, pew, I healed everyone, to now her telling that story. I'm guessing it wasn't 30 minutes, 40 minutes worth of reading from that event to this story.
Jordan was great at like spacing it out over the span of books. So you'll forget stuff. And that kind of the way I read Wheel of Time, like as slow as I do, is sometimes I open my book and I have no idea what I'm opening it to or what chapter I'm at or what's going on, but I just enjoy the character interaction and, you figure it out as you go. But yeah, you can just pick it up anywhere and crack it open and read a page and you'll find something crazy.
Is this crab leg disease, is it a thing in this, like, do multiple people have it, or is it just for this one event?
All we know about is just Egwene.
Okay.
But, it's common enough that it has a name. So, it has happened to other people, obviously.
Nicole was watching during this, and this scene made her go, she didn't say it, but visibly she's like, I'm leaving. I don't want to hear about this. This sucks.
It's the Bruce Willis story. Unbreakable is what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about his the whole taking back of his Razzies recently?
No.
Yeah, this is kind of a sweet story, I think. The Razzies, they they fuck with everybody. They give you awards for like, in a snarky sense. You're obviously familiar. So they gave an award to, what was her name? Shelley Duvall, perhaps, for The Shining. They gave her a Razzie for her performance in The Shining because she was just so over the top and like nutty in that movie. They rescinded her Razzie once it came out that Stanley Kubrick was kind of a bastard and, abused her on set and did all these kind of weird methods to get her to perform. Mm-hmm. They took back her Razzie. They're like, oh, she was acting crazy because she was being abused. So we can't make fun of that.
Yeah.
So Bruce Willis won a Razzie last year or this year for a performance, and the reason he won his Razzie was because his acting was really terrible and he seemed like he was out of it, and so he won a Razzie for that. And it was rescinded almost immediately when they found out that he actually has like a disease, and he's been having to struggle through this. So the Razzies might be bastards, but they're they'll take it back if they have to.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Razzies in concept when it's like, hey, we're making fun of these like big budget bullshit movies, but when they start going after like indie stuff, it's like, oh, you've lost your way, Razzies. But they should have then given Shelley Duvall's to like a lifetime achievement award to Stanley Kubrick for just putting out shit after shit after shit. God, he's never made a good movie.
God, I really enjoy watching his movies despite his bastardness.
Even before I knew about his bastardness, I hated his movies.
It's just not your speed. It's fine. I love your distaste of it. It pleases me.
I'm on a higher level than, the people are like, you're not smart enough to understand. And I was like, no, I think you're gullible enough to think it's high art. That's the real thing.
Yep. All right. Well, while this is happening and then Nynaeve and Rand are bonding, Moraine and Leandrin have a little run in the hallways talking about our girl Nynaeve. Will she be a yellow? Seems like it, because the yellow Aja are all about healing, and she obviously is a healer. A red, perhaps, because she has kind of like the attitude of a red Aja. It's pretty clear Moraine's trying to cock block Leandrin from even hanging out with her. Any thoughts so far before we go on with Moraine?
Nah.
Okay. Then we get Moraine and Alana chit-chatting in the bedroom. They're talking about the water bond and Steppen. And, of course, he's in a bad spot. It's pretty clear that to us viewers that nobody really knows what Moraine is up to when she's out there. And it's also clear that she has a couple of enemies in the tower. Leandrin is like, they're talking about how Leandrin is like gaining followers in the tower and how the Armorillan seat is displeased and people aren't liking the way she's running shit. But at the same time, the Armorillan seat doesn't like Moraine because Moraine's never around. So a lot of politics happening here. There's different sides, but it seems like Alana is trying to push Moraine up to like, watch out, but you're pretty powerful too. I mean, maybe you could make a power move here. Aes Sedai are always talking their tower politics. Do you have any thoughts about their sneakiness in their politics, James?
Not on that, but I remembered when Leandrin, I think is the blonde-haired lady, and she's talking to Nynaeve and is saying, hey, even though women hold the one power, men still control most aspects of life, and they hate when they sense a woman even slightly stronger and more powerful than them. And what's the dude who wrote these books?
Robert Jordan.
He clearly listened to his wife and like intently was down for a cause, or just paid attention and had empathy and was like, oh, I'm going to put this into a book and into a genre that doesn't really seem very woman focused in the sense of like, hey, these are strong people, unless it's to fetish size strong women.
You're exactly right. I mean, it's clear, and I can't really speak for a lot of other fantasy genres, but I mean, I know the popular stuff that was out at this time. I was not reading Wheel of Time as it was coming out back in the 90s and 2000s. I didn't get into it till later. But, you know, I was reading stuff like Conan the Barbarian, which is definitely for dudes, and Asimov and Douglas. And even though Douglas Adams did, you know, have, I don't know, even his female characters looking back weren't as fully realized as his male characters were. And yeah, you have an absolute point there. And that's why Wheel of Time, not being sexist or generalizing, but yeah, there's a lot of female fans of the Wheel of Time. Let's see. So, oh yeah, if we end the scene with Moraine looking at a clock very wistfully. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Or I didn't clock it.
Oh, it made me chuckle. I don't know, just because it was cheesy. Let's see. I want to finish talking about the Aes Sedai before we go into Egwene and Perrin. Mm-hmm. All right, so we're going to talk here about Steppen and Lan. So there, we chatted before about how he had his figures and he was praying. He feeding Lan some drinks, also feeding Lan some pretty obvious lies here. He's agreeing to hook up with Alana and with Ivan and Steppen, you know, making all this big talk about, you know, how he's hot and he can handle a man if they can handle him. I mean, anybody who's listening to this has already seen this episode, so we know this is all just bullshit Steppen's just doing so he can, you know, get everybody out of his way so he can go do his thing. So he gave all the juice, all the indica to Lan to knock him out. Lan wakes up the next morning and, he's Harry carried himself. But yes.
And you know something's up right away because no one in their right mind goes to sleep fully dressed in like warrior wear with their hair up and like a headband on to keep that hair up. I was like, oh, this seems so uncomfortable.
He's Lan. That's how he sleeps all the time. He rides his saddle that way. He makes love that way. Hell yeah.
We don't know that, but there was some wisdom water shipping going on in this episode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, who was it? Somebody brought that up. I think it was Steppen maybe that was noticing what's up, and Lan's like, I
have nothing to say about that woman. She healed you, dude. She saved your life. Well, you know, that's just the job.
All right, let's see. So, so from here on in this storyline, it's all tragedy. Lan sees that there's only 6 swords on that thing to Malakir for the 7 swords of Malakir, I think is what that is. He has, you know, done the most honorable suicide possible, but even so, it's, you know, it's tragic. We end with the funeral. Lan is obviously tore up about this. This is his best friend. You know, we don't know this at the show, but they trained together. They were kids together. I mean, they're total buddies. And Moraine can obviously feel his pain. Everybody in there feels the pain. He's screaming in anguish. I'm ashamed to say that me and Heather, the first time we saw this, we were kind of rolling our eyes and chuckling a little bit. It didn't catch us. Like watching it the second or third time, I think I was kind of more tuned into the mood, but it kind of his screaming and baring of the chest took me out of it just slightly, I guess. What are your thoughts about this scene?
I loved this scene. I do have one of my questions. This is my second question of the day.
Yes, sir.
Can women be warders?
There has never been a woman warder. All
okay.
dudes.
So there were some, I guess, Aes Sedai that I did not recognize. And I thought maybe
yeah, you knew them. It was behind them was Alana, and it was the same women that we've been seeing this whole time. The Aes Sedai. Yeah,
because there was one that I was like, who? And then when they panned around, I was like, well, those people I know. So I was wondering, like, is one of these a warder? That's pretty cool.
Nah, that would be cool though. Hell yeah. I was thinking like, this is unusual. First off, for this to even have happened for like a warder to outlive his Aes Sedai, it's just rare. And then this was what everybody expected, that he would be so distraught he wouldn't be able to carry on. It's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. At one time, you told me that either I was the yogi to your boo-boo or you were the boo-boo to my yogi. I loved that. But I was thinking maybe during their life, maybe I'm more of the Steppen to your Alana.
No, let's not say, because if I die, which, oh boy, there's so much opportunity for me to do that in the way that, because when I saw him having committed suicide, I was like, that's like me when Frank passed away. But yeah, that's just weird and like we don't have that bond, sir.
Or I was going with that, and I keep saying Alana. It's Karene that passed away. That was his warder, Karene. Alana is the other one that was willing to take him in. But at any rate, yeah, because you've been doing this much longer than me, so you're like older, you're wiser at this whole audio thing than I am. And I'm just a mortal out here, kind of like an older dude. But you took me under your wing, and we have a bond where we had like a collaboration, and I'm stronger and more powerful from it. So, absolutely.
Let's just do, I don't know, I'm the blacksmith, and then I took you as an apprentice.
I want to be the blacksmith. Like, we can't do it that way because I want to be Perrin. That's me.
Yeah, but isn't Perrin... well, this is also another weird thing. I'd be like, well, what about Perrin's wife? Like, she was the blacksmith, right?
No. Well, I don't know. I think they're just a blacksmith team. I mean, Perrin...
I've never seen him as the blacksmith.
Say again?
I've never seen him as the blacksmith. I always thought she was the blacksmith, and he was either just a helper or just her husband.
I mean, the show is obviously not the books. There's so many differences. But in the book, he was a blacksmith's apprentice, and he lived with the blacksmith and the blacksmith's wife. They took him in as a kid to be their apprentice.
What about this? Mm-hmm. I'm just braiding your hair.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then you're going to push me into the river.
Yeah, there you go. I'll say you got this, man.
You've already done that.
Yeah, I have done that of just like, I've taught you how to do this stuff, but you need to figure it out. I'm not going to just...
I have. I struggled, but now I'm just relaxed and just going with it, baby.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I feel like I disrespected Steppen, but are we done talking about the White Tower now and Matt and Rand and everybody, and we can move on to Perrin and Egwene?
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we're back to them. Valda comes back into the room and just casually starts torturing them again. It seems like it's just no big deal to him.
Last episode, you were saying, I thought he did a checkerboard pattern. I think that's because now, I said, it looked like 3 claw marks.
Right.
But now he's doing the checkerboard pattern, and that might have been in the back of your mind.
It was, absolutely. When I saw this part, I automatically knew that that's what I was talking about. Let's see. Perrin goes ahead and wants to confess. They did this cleanup job of Egwene. They really scrubbed her, and her hair looks all nice. So, she's doing pretty good. Oh, let me scrub this computer real quick. There, it's all scrubbed and nice. Perrin, they didn't bother doing that for, but he looks super cool. His hair looks awesome. I think, like, being out in the woods and sweating and shit, I think it enhances him. I don't know. But, he's not in good shape, but he's got cool hair. That's all I wanted to say. Valdo's pretty nonchalant about this whole thing. Egwene begins channeling, and this dumbass, who's dealt with multiple Aes Sedais in the past, just lets her channel fully and lets her take a shot at him, even though he thought that she was more powerful. Is Valdo the stupidest character in the show right now?
Yeah, because there's something that happens in maybe 40 seconds from that moment that I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? But also, so he's cutting into them. I am someone who I notice sounds around me, and it seems like an individual who is on high alert about, hey, people kind of want me dead. There's this entire faction that would like to see all these white coats just out of here. This fucker doesn't clock what's up with the sudden uptick in wolf howls whenever I slash into this boy?
Yes. Man, he is startled by Perrin's eyes. He's not startled by Egwene channeling and hitting him with fire. He's startled that Perrin is just standing there like Frankenstein staring at him, and it dumbfounds him so much that Egwene is able to stab him in the back. Hell yes, Egwene.
She, I think, distracted him with the tiny poof of flame, because what she was really doing was lighting Perrin's ropes on fire in order for him to break free.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Then you want to know what both Nicole and I screamed at the same exact time?
Please.
You won't sass me like that when I can summon wolves.
That's my last line right here, dude. Holy shit. Yup. How can you deny it? Those wolves, he summoned those wolves, baby. They helped them get away. Looks like Perrin fits right in with those guys. He knows they're snarling at him, but he knows somehow they're not going to hurt him. Hell yeah, also, Perrin. Both you guys came through.
Egwene, I have a small gripe with, it's the same thing with slasher movies. Don't just stab someone a single time. Go G.G. Allen, 99 stab wounds on them, and keep at it. There's people who can heal around here. Chop his head off. Do something concrete, because this man hates you now and wants you dead.
Yeah, and he's ran into you twice randomly, so it's probably the pattern is allowing them, because he's kind of right about that. He's like, something brought you back to me. It must mean something. They all believe in the pattern that's woven, that the pattern has a purpose. Mm-hmm. So they're like, yeah. And yeah, exactly like you said. We did not leave seeing a dead Valda body. We just left seeing Valda on the ground, hadn't gotten stabbed one time.
Just going, ooh. He looked like someone who had just gotten drunk and was like, I need to stand on this wall and just kind of slouch down till I'm in the sitting position.
Egwene did think pretty smart, though, and she grabbed all of his Aes Sedai rings before they left. Mm-hmm. So hell yes, Egwene, for that one.
I didn't notice that, but hell yeah.
Yeah. She grabbed the whole barrel of them. And yeah, my last note was, you won't sass me like that when I can summon wolves, motherfucker.
Chill.
So, okay, I wanted to do a rundown of our Three River folks, because remember, they don't like Aes Sedai. They're going to figure everything out themselves. Two River folks can take care of themselves. Matt, for sure, is possessed of some sort. He's not good, but he's for sure something's going on.
Is that dagger, baby?
Perrin, for sure, is some sort of wolfman. That's been established now in this episode. Mm-hmm. Egwene, for sure, can channel. We've seen it 3 times now that she can channel. Nynaeve, for sure, can mega channel, big time. And Rand, for sure, you're a D&D guy. You probably know about charisma. He seems to have a high level of charisma. He for sure can bust down that triple barricaded metal door too to escape from Dana. So every one of our 2 rivers 5 is, has got some pretty mega superpowers. They're like the New Mutants or some shit.
Can I make a guess?
Yeah, definitely. This is the time to do it.
I believe the previous dragon did something kind of like what is it? Not a portent. What's the the thing in Harry Potter, unfortunately, I have to bring up Harry Potter, a Horcrux.
Okay.
I think the Last Dragon did that in a way, but instead of like putting it in artifacts, split his power up into 5 individuals, and I think they are all the dragon.
Oh, dang. So like they're like one of those things that runs through the street, like in like those parades, and they're like a five people inside those dragon parades. Hell yeah, I like that idea.
They're like Orochi the 5-headed dragon.
Obviously, Nynaeve would be the head because we've seen her more. I mean, I don't know. As of right now, it seems like she's the most powerful of everyone. Oh, but I forgot though. Rand can vomit up bats. That's pretty rad.
Yeah. I said I just said out loud when he was in bed, like looking terrible. I said, I threw up a bat that I didn't eat. I'm not doing well. And Nicole's like, what? What are you talking about? I was like, he threw up a bat just like out of nowhere, but we're not sure if it was real or not. And she's like, okay.
All right. Well, I think that is, I mean, if we haven't summarized it well, yes. Listener, you've seen the episode, right? Perrin and Nynaeve escape. They run into the night with the help of the wolves. Nynaeve has the rings. Hell yes. Steppen, unfortunately, is dead. Hell no. Nynaeve and Rand and Mat are back together. Hell yes. And where else are we at? Moraine and Lan, they're sad. They're in mourning right now. So that's where we end this episode. You only asked me 2 questions so far. So do you have a third or anything else you want to go on?
No, I mean, I also asked you, like, what are those mouth people called? And
okay,
I mean, that's not really a question. Are they at all? Even though you won't tell me, are they all part of the dragon?
Yeah, that's something I can't tell you. That's like spoiler alert.
Maybe this dude's like really into things of, Power Ranger, Super Sentai. And he's like, oh, the 5 come together and form the greatest thing in the world. Also, it would be good because even if one of them dies, there is still hope if 4 of them exist. It won't be as powerful, but there's still hope in the world. And it also makes sure they're not going to be corrupted as easily because they can all help each other out.
Okay, this is not a spoiler at all. And I think this kind of will answer your question. Of course, I can't answer who the dragon is yet because nobody knows at this point. But it is obvious that these are ta'veren. Have you heard that word getting bandied about every episode or so? They say somebody is ta'veren or a ta'veren pull. What that means basically is they have a high level of charisma. People are drawn to them. Things happen when this person is around. Elvis Presley would be like a ta'veren figure or anybody like, I don't know. You get the point. It's pretty well established that these 5 are all ta'veren, if nothing else. And what a ta'veren is basically is like, not exactly the dragon, but it is a person with high charisma that has potential to be a Forsaken, has potential to be an Aes Sedai, has potential to be a dragon, has great potential basically to bring people together and to be a leader. That's something that all 5 of these have in common, and it comes from where they come from, Manetheren, aka the 2 rivers, which is strong ta'veren land, and they talked about that in the first 2 episodes.
Okay, I'm still gonna say either they're all dragon, or maybe the dragon had close acquaintances and they were then reincarnated in a close proximity.
Yeah, because in this world too, there's only an X amount of souls, period. Let's say 1 million. So they're talking about the King of Manetheren. Well, his soul is going to come back. They're talking about Jane Farstrider. Her soul is going to come back. It's the wheel, baby.
Hold on.
Okay.
Who was the king who was like, let's hold up all our walls?
Let's hold up all our walls.
And then
that was the King of Manetheren, yeah.
That's his dagger, and I bet fucking
Matt. Shadar Logoth, yes.
I bet Matt is his soul, and that's why he was drawn to the dagger.
That makes a hell of a lot of sense, dude. Right on. All right, question time over. right? Do you have any more questions?
I'm done. Plugs now, baby.
Plug time. I'm going to let James plug first. Plug away, friend.
Hey guys, go to mlmpod.com to listen or hear information, see information about my other podcasts such as Mostly Speaking Sentai, Hit It and Crit It, and I think that's about it. Oh, Shuffling the Deck. Then please head over to patreon.com/MLMpod, where for $5 a month you get exclusive podcasts such as the aforementioned Death from Above, a Sam and Max podcast, the Toku Reading Corner, Engage with Nicolas Cage, and This Existed. It's a great time. It's fun. Go check it out. And listen to my music under Marshland Monster. Ooh, baby. That's all I have.
That's all I have. That's like a million goddamn things, man.
I did that in like a minute.
No, I know, but I'm just saying you do a lot. You do a lot of podcasts, and I'm honored that you give me time to do one with me as well. So thank you, sir.
I'm also producing for I'm producing a couple secret albums for other people. Be on the lookout for that.
Oh, baby. I guess, am I the producer of this podcast? Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like you are because I defer to you. But yeah, I do the outline and I'm editing and all that BS. So I need to work with you about how to get on app. I take that back. I'm just going to probably like send you a couple of random texts saying I did this. But I need to get on Apple Podcasts. I've been trying to do that, and I'm having a very hard time with that link.
It's crazy that because every time I've made a podcast, it's automatic. It does it on its own. And it's weird that it's not doing that for you. I do all kinds of things wrong, James. You should know this about me by now. Doi. Well, let me do my plugs now. I'm going to plug my band Intravoid, which, as I said, my ghost member Sam and I have been hard at work on new material. Rebecca Crow is something else you could also check out. That is 3 songs we have on Spotify right now, and we had a band practice just before this record. We're still going strong. My biggest plug I want to say is this podcast, not the one that you just listened to, but in general, I want to plug our Instagram, which is Sweet Child of Time Pod on Instagram. We have a Gmail account, Sweet Child of Time Pod at gmail.com. I think I sputtered that correctly. And what else do we have? Oh, we have the Discord. James, he keeps talking about Marshland Monster, Marshland Media. He's also got a Discord that's pretty poppin'. He put a little channel on there for us, the Sweet Child of Timesies. So you can join us on there. The link is on both of our Instagrams, or just write us and talk to us and rock on, y'all. But that was it for Blood After Blood. Next week, we're going to begin episode 6. But for now, we're going to say goodbye to all our listeners, but especially to James. I'm going to say, my friend, may you always find water and shade, friend. And may you always find water and shade as well, friend.
Peace. Bye, everybody.
Bye.